How's it going, everybody? DJ K DuB Omaha, Wired Access Podcast with the All Access Granted.
I didn't want that to be the standard. I didn't want someone else in the room to set the standard. I always wanted to do that.
The journey to get there, I think, is something, that is amazing, Nick.
Let's get this podcast started.
That's right. It is your host, DJ K DuB Omaha. Welcome back to Wired Access, All Access Granted, where we bring in our guests, no matter whether you are a business, a media person, a sportscaster, a player, a coach, someone that has something to do with sports, and of course, Nebraska. You know what we do. We can't greatly appreciate Adam Carricker and the Carricker Chronicles for having this part of Wired Access on his platform out there. And, the biggest thing for me is I've been kind of on a little hiatus. I mean, I've had a couple episodes, but the biggest thing is I've been doing so much Omaha beef that I kind of had to back away. And with my guest today, he is someone who started Huskermat podcast and doing all the coverage for the wrestling, and then moved on to more. And to me, what I wanted to do with this episode, and for those that don't know, we have Ross Halford of NENextt on Twitter. And, what I really wanted to do here was kind of open up the eyes to some athletes, some parents, because you always know, if you listen to any of my podcasts, that if we could reach one more athlete and one more parent that just might not have the knowledge. And in this day and age, gatekeeping just isn't worth it. There's nothing out there that others aren't doing. So why not share what knowledge you have and what knowledge I have, so then we can help those athletes be seen? I mean, who's next? Who's the next athlete for exposure? All that fun stuff. Ross, I greatly appreciate you joining the show. And, like we talked off the air, I do a lot where I kind of let the following do a vote for their team and see who they want me to cover, because I'm just a one-man band. You're a one-man band as well for most of your stuff. So the way you handle Friday nights, let's just say football, and the way I handle it are different. But as far as getting people exposure, I think there's so many similarities as far as we love to share what we're seeing other people post as well, and making sure that these young athletes, no matter whether it's Class A all the way down to Class D2, get seen. I've been blessed enough, both with softball and soccer, to also be a part of the Class A, Class B, and Class C for softball, being a DJ for their events for the Nebraska sports. So, those all connections come together, and I just want people to know that these outlets are out here. And what I loved about going through some of your stuff that you do is it's just helping these kids get seen. And when you think back to when you first started Huskermat and you think of where you are so many years later, I mean, was this kind of the vision that you had? What changed for you?
No, I don't think you'll. I don't think. I mean, I wrote a book about this some years back as well on the wrestling side of things, and as I said, over the course of time, it's like you never really know where this whole adventure is going to take you, right? Like I can remember. I mean, some people might refer to me as being like an early internet adapter, right? I mean, I was starting Huskermat back when everything was really message board. There was no such thing as social media, right? And boy, I mean, I could tell stories about the first true podcasting streaming experience with wrestling. There was a company over in Iowa that had they had a setup here, and basically what you could do is they kind of had the dial-in type of equipment and stuff like that. So we would go down to the old market. It was me and Coach Denson from Millard South, and then Coach Marty McCurdy from Lincoln East. And we would go down to this place that they had, this building down in the old market. And you had like an hour where you could talk and, stream it, audio, of course, no video at that time as well. And you had to stand the whole time. He would be like, yeah, you want to stand up here when you're doing this as well, because, you'll do a better presentation and all that stuff like that. I mean, that had to be about 2001 or so as well. And then I think I still have my mix, the Mix LR stuff. I still have one of those. We used to do the old dial-in and used to go out to the wrestling tournaments out in Clark's in the little gym out there, and they had a phone jack underneath the stage, and you ran a big wire cord down to the phone jack, and then basically to calculate up my time, because it was a long distance call, I had to use a calling card and set it all up. And yeah, I mean, like we're so blessed now. I mean, with where things actually started at, but that's how long that, gosh, I've been doing this for forever. But kind of back to your question though, it's like, yeah, when you start out here, it's fun and you're building something and whatnot. But I could still remember probably it was probably about 5 or 6 years after I started Huskermat. It was about 2005. I ran into a parent at a wrestling meet, and he said, "You're still doing that?" And I said, "Yeah, I have a business and everything that I do." And here I am, like 30 some years later, and certainly, again, you just never know. If somebody had told me way back when, yeah, you're still going to do this, and this is going to be kind of like your full time in what you do, I would never have believed you as well. But yeah, it's been a process, and every day is like a new learning experience as well. Meeting somebody new, talking to somebody new, learning something new, like evolving as well, which is important, I think, in our business too. And there's some maturing that also has to go on. I always get a kick out of like thinking back. I was actually talking to Scott, legendary head wrestling coach Brad Hildebrand. He was back for the state wrestling as well. I hadn't seen him in a while, and boy, we used to butt heads all the time. When we were younger, we got a laugh out of it talking about it a couple months back, and he said, "Yeah, I was kind of young and a knucklehead," and I said, "I was the same way," and I think there was a point probably when I was doing this here that somebody casually mentioned it one time. They said, you have a lot of influence, and I never really thought of it that way. And I think at that point I was like, I can like use this platform to like actually like help people and like be like a good person and be a good like role model, to these kids as well. And then at that point, it was like not about me anymore, right? It was all about the kids, and so from that point on, it really became something again greater than myself when I do that as well. I always keep that in mind that we are dealing with high school kids, and like I try to put myself in their place sometime, and we treat the kids like rock stars these days, and some of them can handle the pressure and the notoriety that comes with being a high profile athlete, and others, you have to kind of find your way and say, hey, you know what, this is too much maybe for a kid as well to handle. So I always just tell parents, like, listen, I will respect your son like it was my own son as well. And I'm not perfect, everybody's going to make mistakes at times like that, but you try to do the best you can. But like you said, it's a great way to promote, and I think there's a lot of value that comes back when you do that. But that's my long diatribe on that. And
for yourself, when what got you into sports coverage in that day and age back in 2001? Like, what made you feel that covering wrestling beyond the mat, right? That's what I would think Huskermat is. It's covering it so people that aren't there can get it, the information or the results or stuff like that. How did you even get into that field for yourself?
I mean, growing up here, I mean, I was a walking encyclopedia. I mean, there wasn't a newspaper that, I mean, every single day, I could read the sports page and memorize every, stat and, look at every result as well. And, while I was an okay athlete, I mean, definitely, the journalism side of things, I mean, that was my calling as well. And at that time, nobody was doing anything like it, and so, you just kind of take it upon yourself to kind of do that. I mean, everything with me kind of started with like just a message board, just create an old, geez, what did I used to call that? It's probably still sitting out there sometime on the web as well. One of those old free message boards as well. That's just like classic archives gold out there. I can't remember what it was, and then gradually again, you're like, okay, well, this thing's growing. And so, you add on to it, and then, get into the website type of thing as well. And it just grows from there. It takes a life of its own, and, you just stick with it because, again, nobody else was really doing anything like it at the time. And so I enjoyed it. And, it was a lot of work. I mean, I talk about that sometimes in the book that I wrote too. I mean, just being up at 4:00 in the morning, trying to post something up as well. And, it just, the hours and that you put into it as well. But, yeah, so I mean, wrestling kind of allowed me to learn about building a network of contacts. And so some of the people, again, that were with me from the beginning as well, I mean, they're now contacts for, multiple sports now as well. And that's what allowed the football side to really work well, because like I already had all these contacts in all the small towns in every Nebraska. So anytime I had a question about a player, it was like, all right, let me just ask so-and-so here in the town or whatever, and you can get your answers really quick as well. So, it took a long time to build up that trust and connections as well. But it was a great kind of segue then into football. And I don't know. Like I said, my book I wrote was called Matt Sider, and I published it on Amazon. And I just got to the point where I was like, everybody always asks, how you started things, and so I was like, well, I want to just write a book about it, and that was a lot of fun, and that kind of tells the story, and just wrestling was very interesting. I mean, you learned how to really research and find and travel across the country and step outside of the boundaries here in the state of Nebraska and say, whoa, like there's a whole different like level outside of the state here that that I've never seen before as well. And so that was a lot of fun in the early days as well. And it just, I don't know. I could just say that I'm probably doing what the good Lord put me on this earth to do. I really believe that, as well. So.
Amen. Mm-hmm. Well, you think back to 25 years. I mean, you see what Huskermat is to this day, and of course we're going to start there just because that's where your growth was. But did you envision it to be the go-to where it is today? I mean, it is one of the top wrestling following in the area, and of course it's also going, like you said, outside the state. I think those are some things people don't realize, like, and that's what I love about what I do. So with Wired Axcess, for those that don't know, or maybe you do, but if you have touched Nebraska in some type of way and you're doing stuff outside of Nebraska, I also want to make sure people in Nebraska know that's evolving. Like, those are things for you to do. Like, sometimes people get scared of the name, like even with, and like mine goes back to, I was a high school coach at Omaha South, and we had Noah Fant, and Noah Fant chose Iowa over Nebraska. And I tell this all the time. And everybody went at a 17-year-old making a decision for himself, not for anybody else. And now look at him. He's in the NFL doing great. But the way that I saw social media treat that 17-year-old, it put me in a different mind to go. One, I'm a football coach, so I love to help inspire others and hope people find that one person could make a difference, because you've seen it in sports. You've seen it where all it takes is one person to believe in you,
Mhm.
one person to show you that you can be different, even though you don't have all the spotlight on you. Like, everybody sometimes gets that mindset of where I have to have people notice me, but all it takes is one.
Yeah,
Yes,
oh, I
you
completely agree. I know exactly what you're talking about. In fact, every once in a while, I go back and I find this old clip, and it was from, I don't know, probably 6, 7 years or so ago. And I repost it every once in a while too. And it was Kyle Williams, who played for the Buffalo Bills. And he was a great football player, and he was originally from Louisiana. And geez, I don't know. Maybe he'll be a Hall of Famer someday. I think he helps out with LSU football now on the defensive line coach as well. But anyways, he was retiring. There's a clip out there of his retirement speech, and he talked about when he was in high school, like a freshman, sophomore in high school, something like that. And um, he talks about he was from Ruston, Louisiana, and he uh, he had a pretty good year when he was younger, and he was getting a lot of hype and people bragging him up and stuff. And he he said that one of the coaches or something as well was having a conversation with somebody else when he was there, and he said, yeah, the coach told this guy as well. He said, yeah, he's a pretty good football player. He's got a lot of talent and everything, but if he worked, as hard as he possibly could, and and put in the work and any effort, he said, he could be as good as anybody as well. And what Kyle Williams said was, he said, in the course of a 10-second conversation in a doorway in Ruston, Louisiana, he said, the trajectory of my life completely changed with that one conversation as well. And what he said was, he said, you never know what will make the difference as well. And I always think of that as well, because truly, you could probably even think back to your, personal career as well. And there's always one or two moments that are like crystallized as well, where you always think back to it and say, I remember exactly what that person said. And I think about it often as well, just like, that little segment as well. And so that's one of those things that's kind of carried forward to me as well, where it's like the old stone out on the pond, right? Just the ripple effect as well. And so to me, that's kind of how I look at it as well, is like, hey, you know what, if I can promote a kid or talk to a college coach, or somebody asks me about something as well, and maybe or influence it, a kid by doing right, then that can positively impact their life as well. So that's how it works. That's the real deal. So I get it. I mean, there's a lot of responsibility that comes with being somebody that's kind of in a position like this. And as I mentioned earlier, I mean, it was like one moment, probably 10 years into doing this, that I realized that, hey, that's why you do this. Here, it's not about anything else other than like, what can you do maybe to impact somebody's life in a positive way. And so I just kind of carry that mantle as well, too. And, I never really sit back and somebody asked me at one point, they're like, well, you think, I don't think about an impact, because I don't go out and ask people and say, hey, what do you think of what I do here as well? Maybe at some point when I'm about 75, 80 years old or something, I look back and say, hey, you know what, maybe I did some good things as well. But right now, I mean, you're in the thick of it. It's busy time. I don't have time to think about that, but I hope that that's kind of what I'm doing. And I hope that other people like yourself and that are in a similar position as well, also, that's something that that they do as well. And there are good people like that out there, like none better than the legend Bobby Mills. I mean, I look up to him. I mean, he's one of the true friends that that I have in this business as well. Ultimate respect for him. He's done it for so long, and he does it for the right reasons too. So
Well, think back to the past 25 years. You talked about moments that might stick out.
mm,
Think back to your first time hearing a parent
mm,
or an athlete just talk to you about what maybe your review of them or your highlight of them or your thoughts of them that maybe has helped. Do you have one that sticks to mind maybe early in your career before the internet blew up to where it is today?
yeah, I mean, there's a couple. I mean, I talked about it earlier about how I think again we have to be very aware in this business again that we're dealing with kids, and again these kids are 13, 14 years old, and in some cases as well, and again some of it can handle what comes with like being a high profile athlete, and i I try to put myself in that position and think, man, when I was that age here and none of this existed as well, how would I be able to handle like people actually talking about me, like having a discussion about me as well, and and I think certainly there's ways to manage that. Like I try to accentuate the positive usually, because when you're dealing with competition in sports, there's always one winner and there's one team that loses as well, right? And so you try to do is like focus on the positive, right? Because it's tough. Like when you lose and you don't perform well under pressure, then yeah, there's things that come with that. And I can remember one parent one time, high profile young kid. Remember the dad messaged me or emailed me at one point. And he said, yeah, he's quit. He quit the sport. Can't do it anymore. He said too much pressure, and then he used my handle in that email and said too much pressure, and then he said Huskermat. Cause I'm like, okay, so I get it. I get it now as well. There are again some young athletes on here that are better equipped to handle this level of publicity than others. You better be able to manage that in a smart way as well. And so, I think though mainly for me, I think I do a pretty good job of that because I don't get too much negative feedback at all. Like it'd be easy for people to email and say, hey, you don't know what you're talking about, and blah, blah, blah. And I don't get that here. Like this this audience on the football side, they're very respectful of that. But yeah, there's some things like that, and then there's always the cases here where you know we're we're watching a competition in mainly wrestling. I mean, you could be football as well, but I always have to remember that we don't always know what people are going through as well. And I can remember a case here where there's a kid that was wrestling at the state tournament as well, and kind of in the after the tournament ran into his parents and was talking and everything, and let me know like that his wife, the kid's mom, had cancer, and this kid's wrestling through this here, and you know at that point here you're like, gosh, you know what, I have to make sure that's kind of in the back of my mind as well when I'm watching these athletes, because man, they have a lot being thrown at them these days as well. The pressure, probably again, sometimes what these kids have to deal with on a daily basis. It's a lot more than we ever had to deal with growing up, as well. Just the day to day, like survival pressure, social media. I mean, it's brutal out there. I mean, some of these, some of these social media sites here, you know which ones I'm talking about too. I mean, they're brutal to these kids as well, and so I just try to make it positive and accentuate that side of things too. But um, yeah, we never know what kids are dealing with as young people as well. So as long as I think we always try to stress that and be positive, then you can have a pretty good product here as well.
As far as what to write about, have you been in touch with coaches? Like, I know for me and for Wired Access and for football, I've grown really close to like Coach Held at UNK, Coach Masters at Wayne, to where I put myself out there to some college coaches because I want to see
Yeah.
what their minds are thinking. So then if I'm doing something for an athlete or I'm writing about it, I know it's doing what it's supposed to instead of, and I say this because I have had an athlete that goes, his mom asked me to help, just post what he's been doing. Here's his videos. And I did. Um, but it was progression videos. And the kid calls his mom and goes, tell him to pull that down. And I'm like,
Yeah.
let your son know that this is what coaches want to see.
Yeah.
They know your highlight tapes. Those are easy.
Yeah.
It's the hard part. How have you gained some of your knowledge on what to post or how to, like you said, put these kids out there in the best way? Because I know for me, yeah, we could always pick everything that these
Yeah.
kids do wrong. But how about you just do the right things, whether it is, hey, he may not have caught this ball, but did you see his break out of this route? Stuff like that. How did you get your info through the
Yeah,
days?
it's a trial and error process as well. Believe me, when I was younger and getting into the business, I made a ton of mistakes. Hopefully I've learned from them. As I said before, nobody's perfect in this, and luckily, again, I think just growing up a little bit more, I think uh, you think twice before you act as well. Just think it through. Like anything with social media, just be careful what you post up as well. The relationship part of things is, I mean, those have to be organic, and there has to be a level of trust. And I found it more so on the football side, maybe than the wrestling side as well. Like with wrestling, and maybe it's just because I've done it longer. Um, I mean, I feel completely comfortable, like sometimes being a little intrusive, and I'll go to the coach or people and say, what about this, or ask them about this information, because that's what we're basically in, is information business as well. The football side, though, again, you still have to continue to build these relationships and build a trust level with the coaches. And believe me, I mean, I haven't completed that. I'm not anywhere close to that as well. And I think in football as well, that there is a little bit more secrecy on the football side of things. Like, people are much less apt to give you information as well. Some of them are more forthcoming than others, but there's times because of game planning and obvious things as well that you're not going to hear, but you hear it all behind the scenes. I mean, and that's what I do almost on a daily basis. I mean, every day it's texting people or emailing people or getting information as well. It's just a nonstop deal. I was messaging parent of a kid, right now before our show as well, just asking information. It's an ever changing world, and like, believe me, you can't take a day off here as well because you'll miss something as well. I mean, it's crazy, and you know some people, I know that this would be a whole show on its own, and I've talked about this a lot too. But the high school transfer portal, and people, of course, have their opinions on that whole topic as well. But there's some people that they just they get so put off by it as well, and I just take the approach that, like, look, you're not going to change it. You're not putting the genie back in the bottle, and it's not happening, right? So you either embrace it, and in my case here, it's a big part of what you do, because if you don't know where these kids are going to high school at, if they're switching around, then how can you do a preview on a team if you don't even know that kid has went from this school to this school, as well? And it's news. I mean, when Corey Pittman or Kylan Haney goes to Millard North from Central, that's big news. It's huge news. Okay, you can't ignore that
No.
as well. And if you do, then you're not really in the information business like I am as well. And so to me, I track it. I don't have to promote it, but I track it and I give that information to my to my audience as well. But yeah, so there's a lot that again goes into that as well. And I hope that every day that I can build a new contact somewhere as well that I didn't have before. Um, as well, whether that's a parent or a coach or a player, um, as well, because that's that's what it's about too, is building those relationships and contacts as well. So it's interesting.
See, and that's what I love about what I get to do, with the multiple sports. I mean, I feel like, don't get me wrong, there's probably a little more in depth I can go. There's a little more, there's always things you can do better, right? But
Mhm.
I feel like the relationships that I've gained through it, when I show up to a field or a court or anything of that sort, and the admin recognize who you are, and it's more of, hey, welcome, thanks for coming. I mean, I remember when I first got into this, so it took me a while to get into it because I had 4 kids and they were all in sports, and I was just covering, I was watching their sports and living life. And once they move on, your life goes from so busy to, man, what am I going to do? And of course, I knew my love for sports. I knew what I wanted, but I also knew that I was a father that was a teenager when I started, and no one guided me to tell my kids, or for me to know how to get my kids to be seen. So then now, like I said, it goes back to Noah, and what I saw happen to him. It just changed who I was as far as going, okay, that's my mission. My mission is to make sure that these kids have a voice and are seen in a brighter light, instead of and I could take like a Jacob Arope, when he got his, I can't remember, 4th star or 5th star. I don't remember whatever it was that he ended up with from Bellevue West, but I remember some other person on Twitter that bashed it and goes,
Yeah,
and puts out a video of all the mistakes he made and goes, I can't believe they gave him the star, and they tagged the kid, and that just hit me
yeah,
even harder because, one, I coached his brother McCore, so the Rope family is very, close for me. But then just the fact of going, this is a kid that didn't choose his ranking, he
yeah,
didn't choose his stars, he has no control over that. So to me, it's one of those where, of course, I said keyboard warrior, which people talk about, and it was one of those where I just was like, what did you get out of this to call this kid out of whatever star system someone provided? Reach
yeah,
out to that person, ask them, what did you see that you gave him this star? And maybe he has a better story of why he picked it. But to call out the athlete
yeah.
that's a high schooler that
Yep.
doesn't have any control or guidance on that, yes, they have control over what they do, but they
Yeah.
don't get to decide those things. Like, when you think of star ratings, how do you feel about it? Because of course you went from wrestling, and I don't believe they have star ratings. They of course have, um, a lot of following and champions, and where they're champions beyond high school, right? Because they're doing tournaments in Tulsa, they're doing, the Ironman tournaments. So there's a lot out there
Yeah.
beyond the rankings. But when you look at football, what's your kind of thoughts as far as star rankings, and how would you talk to Nebraska preps and parents to understand what to get involved with and what to worry about? Because I feel we have seen, especially with our own state, stars doesn't mean that guarantees you get anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a loaded multi-layer type of question. And I could say probably that my answer to that is probably different than what it would have been a couple of years ago. And part of the reason why is because, as I always say now, with recruiting and scholarships, the game has changed in recruiting. And whether, again, we like it or we don't as well, I'm sure if you're a high profile player that you like that now. But we have to understand that it's not just about, hey, guess what, I get to go to college and play football, and I get my school paid for as well, man. There are a lot of dollars involved in this now, and it's big money. And even if it's not necessarily even at the Power 4 level, I can tell you for sure, for certain that even at the FCS level as well, there's NIL deals. These kids, I mean, you can make some life-changing money doing this as well. And is part of the metric here being the star ranking as well? Certainly, I guarantee you that plays into how much money that you're going to get if you're a 4-star versus a 3-star as well. I've heard the stories before about it as well, and that's why a lot of these kids pay so much attention to it as well. Because, I guess you could use Trey Taylor as an example, because he's a 4-star, and now all the scuttle now is that he gets his 5th star as well. And I'm not saying that he's going back to Nebraska and negotiating and saying, hey, guess what? I'm a 5-star now. I deserve this much more money. But that does happen. That does happen elsewhere where they're elevating their stock. So, yeah, I mean, it plays a factor for some of the high-profile kids that are in that position as well. But ultimately, I mean, the only person that should be able to define what you are is yourself, right? I mean, I don't get defined by what somebody else thinks. I mean, I disagree with star rankings all the time that I see for certain players that are out there as well. And ultimately, as I always say, it only matters, the man in the mirror. It only matters what you think. Do you get up in the morning here, look in the mirror, and say, hey, you know what? I don't care how they want to label me as well. I mean, we see it all the time. I mean, look at the first pick in the NFL draft, right? Guess how many stars he had? None. So to me, it matters, but yeah, at the same time, it doesn't. Just work, just work, and that stuff will take care of itself. I happen to think that I think there's a lot of what did I say? There's a lot of funny stuff that goes on with these ratings too. If you don't think that there's agents out there that are pushing these recruiting services as well to advance up the star ranking, other people involved in these kids' life as well that are basically doing work behind the scenes as well. Because sometimes just watch the film. I mean, I'll say that doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, what are they thinking? And you do see that as well on the evaluation side as well. I guarantee you that these college coaches as well, they have disagreements all the time with these star rankings. They're like, what are they thinking here? And this kid's not this ranking as well. We vehemently disagree. And I've actually seen some high profile colleges as well. They'll relay it through to these recruiting guys and say, hey man, you're way off on this ranking here. Right? You think this guy is a 3-star? Wrong, man. This guy's way better than that too. And so I just think there's some funny stuff that goes on with that, too. And we have to understand that it's a business now, and it's trickled down from college. I know we hate to say it because we want to use the term amateur sports still. I mean, for a lot of kids, yes, they're not going to go on and play college. This is their last step here, right? Too, but a lot of these high school kids, this is a business now. For Trey Taylor, this is a business. Tails, this is a business, too, and they treat it as such, right? So,
well, it's like I told you off the air. I mean, I know everybody's talking about him, everybody's interviewing him. I had the blessing to reach out to him prior to their Millard South thing because I love what they were promoting for Nebraska. And I love what the 2027 class was trying to put out there. Nothing but a good vision of what the possibilities could be. So then you see it continue on. And I know that there was a radio station that got blasted because they were trying to say that Trey was just doing it for clout and doing it for... Dude, you just haven't talked to him. How about that? Maybe you haven't gotten to know the person of why they're doing it. And don't get me wrong. Does that stuff happen all the time where all of a sudden we're thinking it's all Nebraska and then boom, they're gone like a Dylan Raiola? Sure, those things happen, right? But there's other factors that are outside of it that doesn't have anything to do with you or I. There's people, there's money, there's so many factors nowadays that you can't pin it to one. You couldn't go, this is the exact reason why they're now no longer for Nebraska. there's probably a lot of things of going on. So when we look at the Nebraska preps, of course, is something that is very close and dear to my heart, and of course to yours for you doing it for so long. And you've moved over to football. What was the move over to football for? Why did you want to take your stuff to football?
Yeah, interesting. I mean, I always kind of just casually followed football as well. I always kind of famously say, look, that O'Neill 2016 state championship run they had, where they beat Wahoo Newman in the state finals as well. I just had a lot of fun in the fall, just kind of casually following the the teams there as well. And that's still one of the greatest things I've ever seen as well. That bunch up there, it's been, 10 years now this year since they won
Crazy,
that.
it flies by.
Yeah, what a deal. And I was just, enthralled by that. And I used to actually just post out like football stuff. Like I'd be up at a playoff game in O'Neill and I'd be posting up on my wrestling account about what's going on in football as well. Some people give you a little grief. They're like, this is a wrestling channel. And I'm like, you know what? Post it here. I happen to have a nephew that was growing up at that time as well. And he was going to be pretty good and, played with a group that started together in like second grade and played together growing up. And they were a pretty good group over at Bennington as well. And it kind of, got into that, and they would play, other teams, club and junior high as well. And when they were in eighth grade, they had a great group. And eventually that was the group that was the 2022 seniors that won Bennington's first title in 2021. He was a senior on that team, all-state lineman as well. He ended up playing up at Wayne too, but kind of following that group of kids around as well, it got my curiosity piqued as well. They were really good that eighth grade year, and then that was when Millard South had like an all-star team in the MYFL, and they were both unbeaten at the end of the year, and they played each other, and they got beat. I mean, Bennington got beat by 50 points. I mean, that team had, oh my gosh, they had all kinds of kids that went on to play college. I think Gage Stenger was eighth grade quarterback on that team as well. And and it was like, wow, this is interesting. Like, there's a whole nother level out here as well. And I genuinely started thinking about, like, man, when these kids get into high school here, like, wouldn't it be cool if you could see that even before they got into high school, right? Like, you
I mean,
knew, like,
you already know the Millard South team was 20. Some of them were Battle Hawks, and I don't know if you know about the Battle Hawks.
Yep.
But they traveled. My son could have been a part of that Battle Hawks team, but it was all based off a grade.
Oh yeah.
And he was a very young grade above him. And he really, I mean, the worst part for my son is he grew to 6 foot after he graduated. Like, all of his real growth happened that last year. And those Battle Hawks that traveled together, like, people didn't know a lot about them unless you know. It's kind of like what I saw you post about the MYFL. Like you said, there's some teams that have stuck together that people don't know. And then when it comes to the time, they want to blame here, blame there of why they had success, instead of going, hold on, how many of these kids stuck together? How many of these kids have played together and you and I both know with football, it's a trust. I got to trust this guy to the left, to the right of me.
Yeah.
Because it's our 11 versus their 11. And of course, there's the occasional ones like, okay, is the Trey and Tay thing something out of the ordinary? Sure, it is. But when you know why, I mean, as far as their school, how they chose that's between them. I don't know how they chose Millard South, but that's what they chose. They chose Class A. They, of course, want to go against the best competition, so they go to Class A. But for those teams that people have talked stuff about, they don't understand. These are teams that have grown together for a lot of them.
Yeah, we'll give credit again a lot to Coach Urban over there as well, and then Tony Urban as well. About the time I got started in this too was 2017, and that was really the first time that I had ever that I had seen any like publicity for like a youth team, and that was the 2017 Millard South team that like went to Tennessee, and they got publicity in Omaha World Herald for what they did. That was led by, of course, TJ Urban, who was quarterback in that team as well. And that was really the first time I was like, okay, well, there's like kids that are going out here and playing on the regional and national level as well. And I think you have to give a lot of credit to them too, because they've kind of started that trend as well. Now, there's different ways to approach this as well. Not every kid plays travel football as well. But this FBU thing is really blowing up right now too, and I think that as more and more kids now get the opportunity to compete on that too, it's going to raise the level as well. I mean, there's some kids out there that are good going into their freshman year of high school this year that are ready to play because they played on FBU and they already went down to like the regional tournaments, and they're already playing kids that had Power 4 offers as well as 8th graders and reclassifies and all that stuff as well. But I think, generally I go back to how I got started in this was I was genuinely curious. And I can remember I just sat and watched a youth game one day and I said, man, I wonder what other players are out here as well. I wonder if there's a bunch of really good football players down in Papillion or across other parts of the metro. Who's the best like 8th grade football player that is out there? And that's where it began, and it was all organic. I mean, I just created a Twitter account. I was sitting at a game as well, and I never went out and asked anybody to follow me or anything like that. I just started posting up stuff, and there you go. I mean, followers aren't everything, but 22,000 followers later as well, you just expand and grow that as well. And you learn the lay of the land as well, because at the youth level, like anything, you've got to build up your contacts as well. So, I was able to build up contacts with the Lincoln Youth, football league as well in the Metro, Omaha Metro as well. And just, build that thing out as well. And so now I know the lay of the land. So I know how it's supposed to work, and how I can find these players out here as well. So I got a pretty good system down right now for finding these kids. But generally, I always look at it like, to me, covering like these lower levels, whether it be the 8th or the 9th grade. I mean, 8th grade, look, when you cover that level, these kids are going to be in high school in a year. Like there's going to be a lot of kids that get talked about this year by the mainstream, right? Well, to me, hopefully what I can do a little bit is give them kind of an introduction into that exposure that we talked about before. And like, okay, well, you're getting a little bit of publicity here. I think that it has to be, it has to be important. Like if you're a parent and you have a high profile kid as well, or a coach, to teach these kids on how to deal with all this, right? Like now I'm not one of those people, like I don't go out and put a microphone in an 8th grade kid's face and say, hey, let's do an interview. I don't do that as well. I mainly just watch and talk about them as well. But I mean, learn how to do it now, because if you don't learn how to deal with the media here when you get into high school, I mean, you get in front of a camera here, you can do something really dumb that, puts you in a bad light as well. So it's like, there's a lot again that goes with this as well. And you always have to think about, how it impacts the kids and the football athletes that you're dealing with. I think most of them, they enjoy it. I mean, they enjoy, people talking about them and, and getting followers and all that kind of stuff as well. But again, you have to be a little bit careful with that too. But most of them enjoys some of that. But the sooner though that these kids can start to again understand that, then the better off that they are. It's just like in college. I mean, you're a college football player. They've got a class here that teaches you how to do an interview and how to say the right things when you're in front of a camera, right? And and so I give them a little bit of an introduction, and I always say after I do my Super State freshman team, once the season is completed, I always say, well, now it's somebody else's, somebody else's job here. And now it's the bigger media here that can pick you guys up. And I'm still going to be following you guys here, but I've done my part now, and I'm on to, the next group that's coming up as well. So hopefully that teaches them a little bit about like that whole
coverage and
people talking about me.
Yeah.
These kids are rock stars out here now as well. I mean, you're a high profile 8th grader out there, and believe me, they're out there. These kids are going to be the kids that get offers in a couple of years as well, and you know who they are. Too. I just start the process a little earlier of discovering who these kids actually are. So
well, you brought up the FBU and man, I was grateful for, I don't know if it was the first year it was here. I don't know, but the late great Yano Jones. Man.
Yeah. Good friend of mine. Yeah. I always enjoyed my time going to Papillion South, and he was always one of the kindest individuals. They always treated me with respect on the sideline as well, and I'm indebted to him for again just being respectful, to me, because sometimes you mentioned earlier there's sometimes where you're not the most welcome person on a sideline. You always like to think that you are as well, but some schools, will treat you better than others. So, but he was one of one as well, and I was heartbroken to hear of his passing. So,
yeah, I gotta, he really helped me take my sports DJing part to another level. I gotta turn Papio South. Of course, my kids went there too, but turn those Friday nights into Lincoln pretty much if it was a home game. And then he brought FBU in, and I got to kind of go cover that and talk to some of the athletes and see what they had to offer. And then, when he passed, I ended up doing his DJing his celebration of life, and it was just weird because I have like 2 turntables as well as a regular controller. I have 2 turntables like the old days, and for those, I have a Papio South vinyl, and I have a Omaha Beef vinyl. And it was the first time that I ever had him out at an event, and I totally forgot that before he got cancer that first time, he played for the Beef and was trying to play for the Beef. And it never really came together until I got to do that. And just he is another great example of all it takes is one person to believe in you. And I know that all of his athletes that talked at his funeral, Luke, Danny Dimes, all of them were those athletes where they have the work ethic, and they got someone like him who believed in them, and all of a sudden it gave them opportunities, and it gave them that next level things that maybe they would have been overshadowed or overlooked because they didn't have someone that believed in them as much as he did.
Yeah.
And so what I love about our platform is you're right. You said it earlier, where we don't always get, to know results of what happens to kids if we did something. But when we do, it's adding to that. This is why we're here, and this is why we do what we do. And I can say it, this last year, it hit me really hard. Was I had a former high school classmate. He had a daughter who played level C or class C volleyball. She was a setter. She also played, the select during the summer, or, and he goes, she has no high school or college offers. I don't even know if she's going to go to college. Would you come out and just come to her game?
Yeah.
And of course, I don't know if you have it, but what I have is I do have a NSAA badge to get in, because if I cover it, I'm covering the whole game. I'm not covering one athlete. Covered the game. I saw her highlights, and I'm like, and it took, the bad part being a solo guy, and you said about the hours and the time, and This here is a 1 terabyte phone that has so much freaking it has so much content. I can't even get it all out because you're constantly recording things.
Yeah.
And he followed up a month later and he's like, "Hey man, did you ever make a video or did you ever?" I'm like, "Oh, I got to get this done. Got to get this done." And let me make sure that you guys are well aware. I never and I did not get any money because that's not why I do what I do. Money was not involved in this. And I put a video together, and November 17th, I get a call or a message from the dad. He goes, "Your one video gave my daughter the confidence to see that there's a future.
Yep.
She is committing to Buena Vista."
That's awesome.
Now, of course, for me, I think of what we do, and I'm like, well, this is a perfect opportunity to share her story with her sharing it. But it's not always easy like that. That's not always what they want to do. And that's okay too. But it does suck because for us, this is an example of our whys. This is an example of why we take the time, why you're looking at 8th and 9th graders. Some people are going, well, I don't understand, but it is starting that early. And I know that I interviewed Cale Fountain, who was committed at 8th grade.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I mean,
look at old Cam Berry from he's going to Central this year as well. He had a Husker offer in 6th grade.
So people don't understand. These kids get that publicity that early, and it's like, how can you help make a difference? And it's making a difference to help them see it from someone who isn't the newspaper, isn't the TV, but it's the common person like you and I who have built a following on social media to where people come looking for it. And then all it took is one coach go, I see what they got. I see what they're doing. I see what they're working with because they weren't covered ever before until then.
But I'll tell you what though, don't get it wrong though either though. I have a blast doing what I do as well.
Exactly.
I mean, for me, I almost like to see like a phenom as well. I mean, as well, and then be able to like relay that information of like, listen, you guys won't believe what I just saw here. I mean, I tell the story all the time about Paul Hart. I mean, Paul Hart now starting to become a household name because in the last couple of weeks he's picked up multiple offers. I went to a Lincoln youth football game when he was in 8th grade a couple of years ago. I had no idea what I was watching. I had no idea who the kid was. I watched him in warmups, and I looked at this kid and I'm like, well, he looks really different than any other kid that I've probably ever seen at this level as well. Like that guy looks like what a future power forward guy probably looks like at this age here as well. And before I even learned anything about him here, I had a coach come up to me, his coach, and he said, see this, he said, see that kid over there? He said, I've been coaching in this league 15 years. He said, that's the best kid that's ever come through this league. He said, we put players into college, whatever. And I said, well, he looks good in warmups. I said, let's see if he can play football, right? He goes, and that coach told me at that time, he said, that's a Sunday guy. And I'm like, okay, well, let's see him play. And when he went out and played here, it isn't like anything I've ever seen at that level with the exuberance and the passion that this kid plays with that matched his athleticism, right, as well. I was just blown away. I'm like, man, that's like the best 8th grade prospect I've ever seen since I've been doing this in the state as well. And I said, I can't wait to go back and tell people about what I just saw here, right? I mean, this is going to be phenomenal. And he was my number one player coming into high school from that 2028 class as well. Heck, who knows? I mean, that's a great group. You got Parrish and Santiago out there as well. But, I mean, obviously, this kid's going to play Power 4 football, and he's just getting started with recruiting. And it's so cool to see that kind of come full circle as well, because even at that point here, that kid was so different. And I would tell anybody that would listen, I would say, this guy right here, I'm telling you, this guy's going to be one of those guys out here. And for me to kind of be able to recognize it and see it, I guess at the end, I get a little personal reward to say, so yeah, I told you guys. So
there's that. And then you go, that you've seen it when he's playing for nothing but himself and the love of what he wants to do.
Yeah.
You get to see him at the ultimate high of why we love to cover what we get to cover as far as the high school or lower kids is we know that they're doing it out of what they love and opportunities for some, right?
Yeah.
But not all of them. And those that don't get the high opportunities doesn't mean that there's nothing out there for them. And that's why I really love sharing stories of JUCO players who make something of themselves. Those FCS players. I'm going to have Isaiah Harris, former Millard South running back, on who's still at UNK and went to Nebraska, and let him kind of tell his journey, and I think that's what I love about what I get to do is I'm also allowing these athletes to share it because in this day and age of social media, sometimes the decision to go somewhere so you can have an opportunity is something that could be scary because you're thinking it may not be D1 or it may not be the D1 you want.
Yeah.
But if you get that opportunity to play and you want to continue to play, you never know that route that you have to take. And as you can see, especially now in day and age, JUCO baseball is getting you to where you want to be because you're getting the reps early than you are later by going, I went to this college. And I think what's wrong is sometimes in social media and parents who have not lived it or done it, as I say, I have not. So I'm using all the stories of all the athletes and all the coaches and all the players that I talk to share it out of real world, real mouths and real people who've experienced it. So it hopefully just hits that one person. So they go, okay, my son's in this situation. This could be a better opportunity than I thought.
Yeah, well, two other things though too. One is first off, development is never lost on me as well, and I always try to make it a habit as well. When you're kind of generally speaking to these players as well, is that look, you're a pretty good player right now, but as I talked about with Kyle Williams as well, it takes a lot of work here. You got to continue this. You got to put in the work because there's a lot of development here. Like you don't know the game right now as well. I mean, my nephew was a very high-level all-state football player, played for a very complex offense as well. He got into college. He goes, I feel like I'm learning football for the first time as well. And so there's a lot that goes into that as well. So you can't be stagnant as well. And these kids have to realize that, just because you're a good, youth football player as well, you haven't arrived yet as well. And if you do take a path here where you're not willing to put in the work and develop, then you'll stagnate and you won't be anything. But the other thing that I get a benefit from as well is that this also, especially in the smaller schools, this also plays into the whole concept here of what's next, right? Because especially at the smaller schools and occasionally in the larger schools as well, if you don't know who these players are, I don't know how you can accurately, do rankings, because some of these teams in high school that play this fall, they're going to have high impact freshman kids that come in. And if you don't account for that in the preseason, your ranking is not going to be accurate. Right. And so you kind of have to know who they are, and especially at the freshman level as well, because I think what's different about what I do is that I know what's coming. I've seen their freshman groups. I've seen their lower levels as well. And so when I say that, I laughed because it was somebody said last year after the season was over, we're talking about Millard South, and somebody, I don't know, somebody in the media had said, well, at least we don't ever have to deal with another Millard South team like that. And I'm like watching this FBU team that they got put together that has 20 high level future kids that are all going to Millard South here, and I'm laughing here because I'm like, yeah, you wait, buddy.
You think they're gonna just sit and not get reloaded? Come on,
you wait, you wait and see, man. You think they're finished? You don't have a clue what's coming, man.
No.
I mean, so yeah, kind of recognizing again who those next players are up, and it all happens so fast as well. I would say, man, you're in 8th grade one day, and in the span of about a year and a half or a little under 2 years as well, next thing you know, you're a Power 4 recruit. Look at Akili Heath Moody over from Millard North as well. Look how quick that recruitment happened as well. He went from an 8th grader and before he even plays a down of sophomore football, he's already got an offer from Miami, right?
Yeah.
I can remember watching him play in 8th grade. I watched him play multiple times as well, and he was an easy evaluation. I mean, just watch the kid play for 10 seconds as well. You'll see, and that's a dude right there. And so that that helps a lot for putting together, again, these rankings and projecting out, I think, what's going to happen, because the kids that were freshmen last year, a lot of them are going to play major roles on these varsity teams. And I think the smaller the school that it is, the more chance that some of these players have a chance to like impact, and they're going to be the household names. I mean, there's kids out there that are going to have really big seasons as well, and hopefully I've done a good enough job to try to identify most of them by now. But inevitably there's going to be some kids out there that I'm not up to speed for. But that's why I'm trying to build this network up here and recognize these kids. But I mean, I'll go to any end of the state here. If somebody says, "Hey, guess what? I got a kid out here that's I think is pretty good as well." I'll drive out and watch them play. I've done that before to find these talents as well. But you have some cool stories to tell when it's all said and done as well, because you can look back and say, "Hey, man, yeah, I saw Danny Kalen. I remember him playing for Creighton Prep when he was in 8th grade as well. I still remember, watching him play, and other kids that have gone on to be successful. I started watching Tyson Terry when he was in 5th grade, play for the junior Vikes as well. And
Well, I know for me, there's someone about to hopefully get drafted here in the NBA coming up. Will Kyle. I've not only interviewed him twice.
yeah,
I used to be my neighbor, and I still will call him Will, Little Will. And he's taller than his dad. He's a big dude, because you gain that through your relationships and the relationships that you build. And it's awesome to see them flourish to the athletes that they are. But if you ever get a moment to get back to talk to them one more time, there's still that young kid inside of them that's having to go through all this stuff that's outside of the game. And you get those moments that you get to share with them, right? And I greatly appreciate you joining the podcast and kind of sharing with our people who follow Wired Access just what NENextt is, and hopefully, we could build off of this. And I know I'm gonna continue to ask a few other people who cover the NEB preps to join, because the more that we can help each other, or maybe you have someone that you can go, "Hey, you need to get this person on." Now, for me, I don't interview until they commit somewhere for college, because that is a very hard process. And I don't want to talk about, "Oh, you got 7. Who do you like better?" Because they could say one wrong word and lose it all.
Yeah.
So that's where I interview as far as kids when it comes to like
Yeah.
this type of
kind of
interview.
as a just kind of a summary of what we do. So obviously, it was a Monday, right? Sunday overnight here. The 2028s, the 15th was the first direct contact for college coaches with the 2028 class as well, and of course, again, we've got multiple kids in this state here that already have Power 4 offers as well. But now the recruiting gets very real, right? These kids going to their junior year, 2028s, but kind of for our purposes as well. And yeah, I like to cover that, track it, and, see what schools are interested in the kids and all the like here as well. But for me, so the incoming freshman group, that's your 2030s as well. But the day that the 2028s were getting contacted here, I put up a feature on the site about the 2031s, and that's the upcoming 8th grade, because we're about 6 weeks away from MYFL getting started. And trust me, I mean, this class, when it's all said and done, I mean, this Millard West team, this Junior Wildcats team as well, they were the first team to ever qualify, or they won their regional, and they're the first Nebraska team to ever make it to Naples, Florida, and play in the national championships last fall. So these kids will all be 8th graders this year, and I've got a chance to watch them on multiple occasions. And they've got a great rivalry with that Junior Storm team over there in the MYFL. But I'm telling you right now, I did a feature the other day. I mean, and I'm confident that there's multiple kids that are on that team here that in a couple of years, they're going to be in the same position as these 2028s. I said, recruiting happens quickly. I can tell you for certain here that there's future Power 4 kids that are playing on this team right now. And it's cool. I mean, not many people know about them, but you know about them if you subscribe to my channel because I tell you about them as well. And so that's really fun. I can't wait till the schedules come out for MYFL for the fall. Hopefully those two teams will play in the regular season. They're by far the two best teams, though, in that league, and it's quite a rivalry. What happens is once they're done then with their MYFL season, most of these kids will go on and they combine to form the majority of the kids on the FBU national team as well. So they're all friends, but when they play each other in league here, I mean, it's real. Like it's a real rivalry.
And for those who don't believe NENextt, and what they do, let me tell you, the Papio South team that made it to the state championship, they were champions of the MYFL multiple years with that group.
Yeah, their upcoming senior group this year senior group, they won the MYFL in 8th grade, and they beat Abdul Muhammad's Benson team at that time. That Benson team, I think, had beaten them every time except for when they lost. And that Benson team had Kylon Haney, it had Tori Pittman on it, it had Tate Jenkins on it, and also a Caden Logan down from Lincoln Southeast as well.
You don't act like I don't know. I know the MYFL and how it relates. Like, it's deeper than you guys think. And just know, if you're a 8th or 9th grader, these times go just as fast. Make sure to tune in. Make sure to like, follow, share, do all those great things. Ross, thank you again for your time.
Welcome.
Thank you again for sharing. And make sure to check out NENextt with 2 T's. And also want to give a shout out to the StreamYard. Is brought to you by your Omaha Beef, who just finished the season. Started out 0-5, finished 6-6. Went on a 6-game winning streak and showed that things can turn around anytime. Make sure to check them out as they're preparing now for the 2027 season, as they lost in the semifinals, as no one even thought that they would even make it there. But ownership and what people do matter, so make sure to check them out. Also, you know what I do? Host Primetime Beef Huddle, and that's how we'll get out of here. Thanks again, Ross, and you have yourself a great night. We'll hook up again.
Sometime you can come on my show as well, and we'll actually talk some real ball here as well because I'm deep into the rankings right now and all the preseason stuff as well. So I know everybody's excited about the season ahead, and so you come on. We'll actually talk some real.
Yes. You let me know and I'll be there. All right. I appreciate your time, boss.
All right. Have a good night.
You too.
See you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys.
The standard is the standard. We set the standard.